Yeah. What's up, y'alls? Welcome to the Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. I'm your host, Richard Burns. And this one here today is for the youngins. The youngins from the hood. I was raised in the hood. I arrived in the hood in New York City in 1968. I left the hood in New York City only to go move into another hood somewhere else in another state. But 1996 was my departure from the hood in New York City. While living in New York City, I never lived anywhere else but the hood. And there are plenty of videos on YouTube where you can see what it was like living in the hoods I lived in, which were in the Bronx and Harlem back in the late 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and up to the mid 90s. You can check all that out on YouTube. Plenty of plenty of videos of life in New York City in the hood, in the Bronx and in Harlem throughout those decades, throughout those years. I remember as a 15, 16 year old, I remember, and if I were to compare it to what I know now, I remember that money money was not a conversation or not a very complete conversation because there's always talk about money, always talk about getting it, not necessarily what to do once you got it. That was not much of a conversation. Spending it. There's plenty of talk of spending it on sneakers, spending it on cars. Yeah, at 16. Not me. I didn't have that kind of money, but my friends, yeah, I had friends that had money like that when they were 16 years old. One of my friends by the age of 18 actually bought an entire mall in New Jersey. 18 or 19, I forget how old he was when he actually did that. Bought a mall in New Jersey when he was 19 years old. That could be considered a smart investment, but the question that was on some people's minds was, where the hell did he get that money at 19 in the hood? Well, I doubt I have to spell that out, but there was a lot of that going on. However, for the most part, it wasn't a common inclusion when it came to conversing about money and how to use the money for the sake of buying business. That wasn't a common conversation in the hood. Being a consumer, yes, 100%. The shirts, the clothes, the hats, the chains, the movies, these were all things that were exchanged amongst 16 and 15-year olds in the hood, but not about investing in the stock market, not about investing in the bond market, not about investing in legitimate businesses, not so much about that. There were some pockets, very small pockets, of people that wanted to experiment with things like this, but it wasn't common. Now, back in 1999, I came to grips with the reality that this is just the way it is. And even though you can go on YouTube now or whatever social media platform you go on, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitter, or Instagram. You can go on all these platforms and get tons of advice. And by the way, I am not providing financial advice or investment advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. But you can go on different platforms and get different people encouraging others to invest, to get involved in business, get involved in real estate. However, 1999 rolls up, and I don't lie to myself about the reality that exists amongst, especially here in the United States, about consumers and how they consume. And I know for a fact that no matter how much advice, no matter how much you tell people, no matter how exposed you want to make them to other concepts of how to use money and what to do with money, most people will consume irrationally for their circumstances. Now, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. The worst person to lie to is yourself. So I had to accept the reality that people are going to be compulsive when they spend. They are compulsive consumers. And as a result of being honest with myself and seeing things for what they are, I I invested in a vehicle that allowed for people to be impulsive, compulsive, and profit from that. I won't mention the name of the stock, but I did that. That's because one, I was honest with myself. Two, I saw things for what they were. Three, I was one of the few people in the hood that was fortunate enough or blessed enough to be able to have relationships with business owners. I was fortunate. Back when I was 15, 16 years old, I didn't care about money. I I didn't like wealthy people, business owners. I didn't like any of that. Even though a branch of my family is wealthy, on my father's side of the family, they are wealthy. They're business owners, and we're talking about generations of business owners, not people who started. But yeah, I've got wealthy business owners in the family, but that I have no relationships with by choice because their mindset was one that I didn't appreciate. I didn't appreciate their way of thinking. Some of whom are which are that ugly term I always use that escapes me right now at the moment. But regardless of the fact, I was not a fan. I was not a fan. It took time. It took a real kick in the butt. It took a trip to Dominican Republic, of which I spent an entire year, realizing that not everybody at the top is bad, number one, and there are plenty of people at the bottom of the social economic ladder that are absolutely terrible, really, really nasty, cutthroat, backstabbing. Here I was, age 15, 16, in the hood with the idea that poor people are all victims of the wealthy. Now, I discovered that that's not necessarily the case. Not necessarily a case. Yes, the wealthy do have advantages that the poor don't have. However, the poor do have options. The problem with being 15, 16 years old in the hood is that nobody comes around to tell you what those options are, teach you what those options are, convince you to use those options. So you are the company you keep. And in the hood, the company you're keeping is financially ignorant. So you don't really know any better. And it's about relationships. I was exposed to a different perspective because of these people that I mentioned. Parents of some friends. Okay, so when I lived in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, there was a private school that I don't think exists anymore or is under a different name. But there was a school, a private school, where wealthy kids used to go to that was 2 blocks away from where I live, 2 blocks away. Now, of course, I think I was 15 years old when I first started going there. And the reason why I first started hanging out there, because I didn't attend that school, but I started hanging out at that school, on half days or after school, whatever the case was, being that it was so close to my house, I was able to go hang out there. Now, I have one friend that actually attended that school. His mother was a model, and she had the financial ability to send my friend to that private school. And naturally, because he lives a block away from me, and we used to all hang out at the same junior high school playground, which was a very popular playground for, believe it or not, actors to go hang out and play basketball, stickball. Like I mentioned before, that's where I played stickball with Al Pacino. And we used to go to this one playground for this one junior high school. Stone Phillips, Al Pacino, uh, what's his name from Turk 182, Steve Steve Reeves before he had his accident. Was this happened to be a little spot where in that particular area, after the gentrification, because it was gentrified. When I moved into the neighborhood, it was in the process of gentrifying. It was bad when I moved in, but after like 2, 3 years after I moved in, it all changed. It all changed up. There were high-end brownstone apartments. Of course, the apartment buildings on Central Park West were all high-priced apartments. You had Tony Randall living on between 74th and 75th Street in Columbus. Diane Keaton. They lived in it was two buildings that were part of the same building, two separate towers to the same building. Tony Randall lived in one tower. Diane Keaton lived in the other tower. Mick Jagger had an apartment between 73rd and 72nd Street in Central Park West. Roberta Flack lived on 72nd Street in Central Park West, along with John Lennon. They lived in the same building. Um, Jabbar would swing around every now and then. And my friend's mother, who was a model, he used to attend, we all used to, him and a group of others that I have mentioned in some other stories, we used to hang out and play paddleball, tennis, um, uh, uh, We used to practice pitching and batting, basketball, soccer, all in that, all in that junior high school playground. The junior high school itself was on 77th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam, and the playground would go from 77th Street over to 76th Street where I lived. I lived on 76th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam, and that playground used to extend over to 76th Street. And it used to there was a good enough amount of area to do all these things that I'm mentioning. So so that private school, because my homeboy used to attend the private school, he would invite me for after school so we can play basketball. They had a little gym, small gym, and they had these basketball courts that were extremely low. So of course, we were all excited about playing on that basketball court because we could dunk like our heroes in the NBA. And we spent a lot of time doing that. I met another guy, solid guy, um, and I got to engage with his family. They're Jamaican. I got to engage with his family. His father worked extremely hard, put his son in that private school. I think his other two daughters were in separate private schools, but that man worked like a mule to make it a reality. Bought his own multifamily home and was able to afford the the schooling that my friend got. My other friend, his mother was a model. So we're hanging out there. I got to establish relationships with the children of some wealthy families, and I got to hang out. One of them took me out to it's that area in Long Island that's well known for where the wealthy hang out. That's near the far end of Long Island. Geez, I forget the name of it. It's super well known where the wealthy people hang out. So one of the guys from that school, his parents took a few of us out there, along with the two friends that I mentioned and myself. So I was able to listen, to exchange, to engage with the children of some wealthy families. And of course, they weren't snobs. Hey, brother Zeke, how's it going? Oh, okay. Brother Zeke, look, if you want to come up, I'm gonna send you because I know you and I only invite people that I know. So I'm gonna send the link if you want to come up. Here we go. So, Brother Zeke, I was breaking down how I was exposed at the age of 15, 16 years old, living in the hood, how I was exposed to concepts of how to manage money outside of what the average person does in the hood. And I was explaining that I was able to engage with the children of some wealthy families, uh, being exposed, one through a girlfriend that I had whose parents were business owners, and another through a friend that lived a block away from where I lived that that whose mother was a model and was able to put him into this private school 2 blocks away from where I live, 1 block away from where he lived. It was on 74th Street, just off Amsterdam Avenue. If you were traveling on Amsterdam Avenue and you wanted to go from Amsterdam Avenue to Columbus, okay, I got you. Uh, it'd be like maybe 100 feet from Amsterdam. So on 74th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam, about 100 feet from Amsterdam Avenue. It was called the Baldwin School. Now, the Baldwin School, it was my friend Freddie and Rich. I don't think they'll be upset for me to Richard and Fred. I don't think they'd be upset for me mentioning them. They're not even subscribed to my channel, so I don't think they're gonna find out anyway. But and my ex girlfriend Helen. whose parents were business owners, I got to, and of course, on my father's side of the family, we have wealthy business owners as well. But I didn't engage with my my father's side. That part of my father's side of the family, I never had any real relationship with. They are of a they I always consider them of a mindset that I didn't want to be a part of. Age 15, 16, I wasn't a fan of wealth. I wasn't a fan of wealthy people. I wasn't a fan of money like that. And kind of odd being that my mother at that time, without me even realizing it, was making what would be equivalent to $600,000 a year today in today's money. She was a fashion designer for Liz Claiborne. She put my brother and his wife through college and medical school, paid for everything, paid for the room and board, the books, paid for everything. However, I didn't want anything to do with that. In fact, I forget exactly what year it was. I just decided to leave my home and sleep in the streets. I stayed I was living in Central Park and Riverside, occasionally with the rats, um, you know, scraping by, dumpster dived a few times, did like little odd and end jobs from people in the neighborhood that hired me to do, you know, yeah, like odd and end jobs. Paint something here, take out this trash, do this, make a couple of bucks so that I can get something to eat, and then I'd go right back to the park. On those cold days, I would, take newspaper and stuff it in my clothes just to keep me warmer. And I wasn't necessarily pleasant to be around because of the lack of hygiene. So it wasn't like people would want to hang around and express their sympathy for me or anything like that. But that was my mindset. My mindset was, I thought wealthy people were evil, money was evil, and I wanted nothing to do with it. But again, um, like I was saying, I got to meet the children of some wealthy families. One of the kids that I met at the Baldwin School was the daughter of one of the singers from the group The Mamas and the Papas. My buddy Paul, his grandfather was like some super duper uh, well known psychiatrist in the United States. Like this guy was like revered throughout the psychological communities, the psychiatry community. This guy was like a real big shot. Got to hang out with him. So what was that area? The Hamptons. Yeah. So I had a chance to go out to the Hamptons and rub elbows or just be made fun of by wealthy kids. And it's kind of weird now that I think about it, because if I dislike money and wealth so much, what am I doing hanging around with these kids? Was I looking for confirmation? I don't know. Was I looking for that confirmation that no, at that time I don't think I was. I was just hanging out. I was just a 15, 16-year-old hanging out, looking for anything to do, anywhere to go to hang out. And of course, conversations were made up. Yeah, I was trying to validate maybe my ideas that all these people were wicked and evil, that they got their money by wicked and evil means. My mother intervened in that. Uh, at, the intervention came when I finally decided to come home after living on the street and all that. That's when she laid it on me, because my mother was a religious person, and we had a conversation one day, and she knew because I was reading the Bible from page one to the end, and she noticed that I was serious about looking into scripture, reading scripture, following scripture, because at the time we were living in a Jewish synagogue, living because my father was the maintenance man for this large Jewish synagogue right there on 76th Street, West Side Institutional Synagogue. And so reading it from page one to the end, of course, I'm stumbling upon a lot of things I'm starting to ask a lot of questions about. And because I had I had access to rabbis from the synagogue, I was reading, hey Aiden, what's up, man? Glad you can come in. Um, so I'm reading scripture. I'm going through Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, all that good stuff, which is what the makes up the Torah, if I remember correctly, the first five books. So in Deuteronomy and Leviticus, there's a whole list of laws that Moses went and passed on to uh, the Israelites who had left Egypt. Some 600 and some odd laws. I think 613 laws. I forget how many laws there are, but it's about 600 some odd laws. So of course, I'm going through these laws and I'm seeing stuff, and I'm looking at the rabbi and I'm looking at some of the members of the synagogue, and I'm wondering, wait a minute, these guys aren't really they're not really practicing those laws. For example, uh, men aren't supposed to shave their beards or the sides of their head, and here they are, they're all hairless in the face. So of course, I start asking questions. I went to a youth meeting at a Roman Catholic church. Ha! That didn't go too well. I wound up getting kicked out of that because of the questions that I was asking, because of things that I read in scripture. And of course, the priest wasn't very happy with the line of questioning and questioning their answers. They weren't, or questioning his answer. Yeah, he wasn't too pleased with that. But when my mother realized that I was getting all wrapped up in scripture, she pointed to a few sections of scripture where people became wealthy, like David. David became wealthy. King Saul wanted to wipe this dude out, but he wound up becoming king. So, through certain questions that my mother asked me about these personalities in scripture that actually became wealthy, she helped me understand that the acquisition of wealth was not evil. It just depended on how you acquired that wealth. I never looked at my mother as being of the wealthy class, but she was, in fact, a part of the wealthy. But she never pushed me. She gave me my space. My dad, my dad, on the other hand, well, my dad, wasn't big on showing off, so it wasn't a big deal to him. I was constantly. I went to school in sweatpants, and you know, n- uh, that I'll give you a separate story another time. But going back to what I was saying, in the hood, the only reason why I was able to get a different perspective on money and business was because of the fact that I was able to connect with the children of some wealthy families. So I got a different perspective from the average person in the hood. Now, I grew up in some really terrible places in the hood, right? Um, the Bronx, Harlem, at their worst times. You can go check it out on YouTube. There's one called "The Bronx is Burning," or if you look at any footage of Harlem in the 70s, in the early 70s, mid 70s, if you look at any footage of the Bronx, Washington Heights, you'll see where the conditions where I grew up. The things changed for me when I moved to 76th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam because I was in the tail end of the gentrification process, so I got exposed to all those wealthy kids. But then I wound up going back to the hood. Okay, from there I went further up, 103rd Street. I moved up with my sister, 103rd Street between Amsterdam and Broadway. Not a very pleasant area. Moved back to the Bronx. Not a very pleasant area. And remembering the conversations that people within my immediate vicinity were having, they weren't talking about stocks. They weren't talking about bonds. The type of businesses that they were talking about were all illegal. Uh, chop shops, unprescribed pharmaceuticals. That was the conversation. And, the purchasing of exotic cars, uh, type of clothing, the clubs you were going to, the chains you were wearing. That was the bulk of the conversation about managing money. So, with that in mind, when I come on the channel, I want to make sure that when somebody's exposed to my channel and they're from the hood, I'm hoping that young people from the hood get exposed to my channel so they can hear something different, so that they know that somebody who actually lived like they're living right now actually made what would probably be considered a tough decision because everybody's always keeping tabs on everybody in the hood. If you if you're not hanging out like you used to, they're gonna want to know why. Your circle is gonna want to know why. What's going on with you? Um, we're gonna go hang out. We're gonna get some 40s and some blunts. Yeah, street pharmaceuticals. Exactly. Yeah, street pharmaceuticals. Straight up. The amount the amount of street pharmaceuticals that I was surrounded by are numbers that are difficult for people to comprehend. Everybody hears stories about some kingpin caught over here, some kingpin caught in LA, and they don't compare. They don't compare to the volume of street pharmaceuticals that were moved, especially in Washington Heights. It's incomprehensible to people. People hear about Detroit, people hear about Chicago, about LA, about Miami. No, there were. So Washington Heights is approximately the size of, I don't know. It's about the size of a 50,000 population city, roughly around that, Washington Heights. And in that area alone, if you were to just be on one block, if you were like on 151st Street, for example, between Amsterdam and Broadway, just there alone. Hey, Brandon, the link is up top. So if you that just that one block, there could easily be anywhere between 2 to 500 kilos pumping out of that one block. what, maybe every 3 or 4 days. That one block. And if you were to look on a map and see just how much territory Washington Heights have, and if you were to get like a like some crime map to point out and indicate where and how saturated. Hey, Double D, thank you for coming on and saying hello, man. Um, it's jaw dropping, but people don't know that. I don't wanna break down the reasons why that kind of information wasn't out there. But like for example, um, one of the homeboys, um, this is a book that I found out that was written about some homeboys of mine. Let me go ahead and present it. I mean, if you're interested, you want to get this book, you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. I can't go into too much detail, but one of the guy, hey, there you are. Hey, Brandon,
Hey Solomon, how you doing, man?
pretty good, man. So I'm breaking down one of my homeboys that had just been released from prison. I bumped into him in the old neighborhood up in Washington Heights, up by Wadsworth.
Uh-huh.
Um, we're sitting there, we're talking, and he's telling me, "Yo, did you hear about this professor that wrote a book about the crew?" Now, when he says the crew, it's not our crew, but it just so happens that he was hanging out with our crew, which was the original crew that he was hanging out with. But then he started hanging out with this other crew from these dudes that used to come uptown and hang out with us, but they went out and did their own street pharmaceutical thing.
Yeah.
And they finally got jammed up in the mid to early '90s. Uh, and um, it was, and matter of fact, he's mentioned in this book. The guy that's part of our original crew, he's mentioned in this book. And so he's telling us about how our other friends got caught up, and it probably it might be, I don't know, you guys can check it out.
I was gonna
I never
ask you
got
if
it.
you knew what the title was.
That's the title right there. You see it on the screen. It's called Wild Cowboys.
Wild Cowboys? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
right, right, brother Zeke, right, right, um right.
What's the name of your friend that was in the crew?
I know him by his nickname. I don't know his real. I don't remember his real name. They call him Monkey, Mono in
Mo
Spanish.
Mo Mo
Mono,
Mono?
Mono. Yeah,
Okay. No, just
there
if
were
I read the
dudes.
book, I.
Yeah, Mono. If you stumble across Mono, that's him. Um,
Okay. That's
and
pretty cool.
yeah, well, what they did wasn't that cool because
Yeah, yeah.
they probably ranked number one in in the most homicides.
Ooh. Yeah. One of
Yeah,
those guys.
yeah, yeah, they were pretty far. They were pretty high up there. Um, I know Lenny and Nelson. Lenny had a short fuse. Lenny had a short fuse. That was the case when we used to hang out, when we used to participate in sports, football, primarily football. We used to love to play football. And Lenny had a short fuse. Lenny had a short fuse, and a couple of other guys, like Freddie, for example. Freddie, I'm pretty sure Freddie's in there. Freddie, Freddie was a psycho. Freddie was a certified psycho. Freddie was the
Well,
kind of
when
guy
did
that, yeah,
uh,
Freddie was the kind of guy that would chill out with you, hang out with you, have a beer with you, laugh, and take you out, and not even worry about it, not even concern himself. He felt the need to have to
yeah,
take you out, he take you out.
yeah.
Simple as that. Uh,
You got. I mean, when you get into that industry, that's where a lot of people like that thrive. You know, the
they do, they do, and these guys, and I saw, and I saw them transition from children, basically we were children, to what they had become.
yeah, yeah. I understand
Yeah,
completely.
a
I mean,
lot
we
of
had
a
that
lot of
discussion before that most of my friends that they're either dead or in prison right now.
yeah, like Lenny, his brother, a lot of the members of the team, some of them were killed by each other. So, um, but the ones that did survive, Mono's an exception. Mono actually had a release date. Many of them did not have a release date, so they'll be leaving their facilities, their correctional facilities. They'll be leaving in a body bag,
Yeah,
and that's just the type of environment that didn't really encourage a better way of managing money.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so
Understand.
so my interest in having this channel is really about hopefully people sharing some of these videos with the youth in whatever hood you're from, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
All the hoods are basically composed of the same type of ingredient that creates a glass ceiling. I'll say it
yes.
that way. Creates a glass
That's a good
ceiling.
way to put. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, creates a glass ceiling. So people can see where they need to go, but whatever it is that they're doing keeps them bumping their head against that glass ceiling. Eventually they get frustrated. Eventually they become uh what's that term I'm looking for?
Compliant
No, there's another word I'm looking for.
or
Uh
complacent. I'm sorry, complacent in their situation.
Different word,
Accepting, accepting.
w- one with a negative connotation. They become
Hmm.
the hell's that word? Uh, well, it'll come to me.
Hmm.
But they don't see a way out.
Hmm.
They hop on that treadmill. They don't see a way out. But I'm here to
Accept.
tell all the young people in the hood. I'm here to tell you that if you establish the right type of relationships, they can help you see a different perspective. Help you see that you could sideline some of these things. You have to survive. I understand that. You have to survive in the hood. There's no way around that. Unfortunately, surviving uses up a lot of your attention and a lot of your mental
Resources.
capacity, mental capacity.
Hmm.
So conformity, something more, something more it has negative connotations, the word I'm looking for, Zeke. Uh they become well they have a negative view of life. But I'm not saying that conformity isn't part of it. It is. It definitely is. What you and what Brandon just mentioned, it is part of that. But there's a word that has a negative connotation. Uh, when it's synonymous with pessimist. It's synonymous with that.
I kind of understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah, it's
Google. You can
synonymous with
Google
pessimist. Yeah, I can do
it.
that.
What's you can Google what's a synonym for pessimism.
Pessimist.
I don't have access to the computer right now. Otherwise, I'd do it for you.
Do it right now.
Where you at, Mr. Burns?
I'm at the crib.
Oh, nice. Did you guys get hit any with that weather?
No, I don't know. I wasn't here.
Mm.
My wife didn't tell me. Cynical. Wow.
Cynical.
That's hey, I'm here, guys. Um. Oh, my kids just came in. I wasn't expecting them until 5:30.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you got
I
to
was hiding
go,
from you guys. Hey, give me a kiss. I'm doing a live, guys. Come on, give me a kiss. I was hiding in the truck. Mm. Hey, give me a kiss. Let her go through. Eat. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. All right. So nihilistic. Let me see what. Let me see. Cynical is the word that I was looking for,
Mhm.
but I'll tell you what though, nihilistic is pretty good.
What's the definition for that?
That's a what do you have? Oh, that looks delicious. Oh, it's got fake cake over here. Uh, it's like rejecting that life has meaning. I would guess that teeters on a depressive state.
Yeah.
No, Zeke, that probably teeters on a depressive state. And oh, that's kind of deep. Yeah, cynical. I would lean more towards cynical. And I'll tell you, cynical is a terrible place to be if you want to move forward. It's a terrible place.
Yeah.
Not, of course, nihilistic
Hey,
is even worse because I think nihilistic is
just
it's
abandonment of all hope.
deeper.
Abandonment of all hope.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's what it's that. Yeah. So, but when you're cynical, oh my goodness, that is a terrible place to be because now anything you do is going to have a negative turnout,
Hmm.
and that's definitely not that's definitely not conducive for a path for a person who wants to take a path to improve their life financially, whether it's through investing or engaging in business. You're not going to get very far doing that.
Hmm.
Nihilism, a belief system. Here we go. Brother Zeke just put it up. Let's see. Here we go. It's a belief system or mindset that rejects the idea of inherent meaning or value in life, often associated with skepticism and a belief in nothingness. Man, I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's.
I think that's worse than cynical. What do you
Hmm.
think, Zeke? I think that's worse than cynical. Because cynical, you're always coming up with the dark side of something.
Did I see that Zeke got sent over from Miss Helms?
Yes, he did.
That's
I've
nice.
seen Zeke. I've seen Zeke in the professor's videos. I've seen him many times.
Nice.
So in the in the hood, I definitely want I want our young people in the hood to understand that they're not trapped. They don't need to become cynical, although I understand with the type of personalities that they encounter. Hey, that the type of personalities that they encounter
Yeah,
would kind of nurture that thought process.
yeah.
Bebe.
Well, it's you're
And
stuck. You got some.
and to become nihilistic, that's even worse. Um, or what? Or you know what? This is a key. This is a key phrase though that I guess I'm ignoring. It's a belief system.
Yeah, I think
So
that's more towards a like a religion type. You know.
that's what it sounds like. It sounds like something organized, something established and organized.
Well, organized as someone who believes in nothing can
Yeah,
be.
a belief in
Mm.
nothingness. Wow. I mean, hey, I don't. I'm not.
There was what was the Sugar Hill Gang made a song about it. Um,
It did.
yeah, don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge.
So
Remember
that was
that
in the
one?
song. Yeah, that was in the song. It wasn't about that, but yeah, that was in the song. No, that was the Grandmaster Flash.
Grandmaster Flash, yeah, but the Sugar Hill Gang had a. I'm trying to think. Um,
No, that was Grandmaster Flash.
you
I'm trying not to lose my head.
yeah,
It's
you
like a
grow
jungle
up.
sometimes. It makes me wonder.
Yes, but in that what some of the lyrics in that song were
Yeah,
um,
well, rap. Okay, got to be careful with rap for our youth. Got to be careful with it because, well, or the earlier rap.
mm,
Yeah, shout out to the professor Tara Helms. Thank you.
Miss Helms. Yes, 100%.
And um, I gotta go. I gotta see if I can get my soaps now. I got some
Oh,
soaps
do you
on.
haven't picked them up yet? I wanted to get your review on them.
Yeah, no, I haven't picked it up yet. Hopefully I'll get it now.
Hmm.
Uh, after the video, I'm gonna run and get it, and then I'll do a little
Review.
unboxing. Yeah,
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, that would be a cool video.
and
They said in that song, they said, you know, you see these guys spending 20s and 10s, and you want to grow up to be just like them, you
right,
know. And
right.
then
The environment, the
the lyric. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, those earlier rap tunes from Grandmaster Flash and others like Africa Bambaataa and other rappers like that. They wrote a lot of poetry that was descriptive of their environment. That was this,
Yes,
they weren't they weren't encouraging people to actually continue the
exactly.
behavior that kept them back. It wasn't until later on that
They were actually discouraging it, you know, because in the
yeah, they
song
were
that
yeah, they
you
were
wind up
discouraging
in
it.
the cell, hanging back, you know,
A child is born with no frame of mind. Yeah, blind to the ways of
blind to the
mankind.
ways of mankind. God
Yeah,
is smiling on
and
you, but he's frowning too. Because only God knows what you go through.
right, right. So in that regard, I got more respect for lyrics like that than that gangster rap. That gangster rap was not.
In the early
You're
90s, yeah.
talking about a genre of music that's embraced by human beings when they're at their the most impressionable time in their lives, which is between the ages of
Hmm.
12 and 25. That's the most impressionable time in any human
Yeah,
being's life form.
yeah.
Your emotional brain doesn't communicate with your logical brain, and people react more to their emotional brain than anything else. So in the hood, what I want people to do in the hood is to share videos that help encourage the youth to at least understand that there are other avenues besides the ones that they're exposed to in the hood. Because in
Yeah.
the hood, you don't. You don't. There's
But like you said, like you were saying though, it's hard when you see these people with all this money, easy money, and you know they're 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 throwing it around, and then not only that, they're recruiting these young people too. On top of
who
it,
sang about that? Who sang about that? Was that Mark Knopfler from what's that band's name? Money for Nothing, Chicks for Free,
oh, Dire Straits,
Dire Straits. Yep.
money for nothing. Yeah, he was talking about a rock star, but yeah, pretty much the same thing. Yeah, you know. I mean,
Yep.
especially depending on what you're doing, you get anything you want. You know.
Right. Okay. So immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a big deal through Hollywood, through entertainers in the music industry,
Yeah.
seeking instant gratification. Okay.
Mhm.
That's a trap. That's a trap. It's a
Yeah.
financial trap. It's definitely a financial trap. But guys, I was hoping to stay on a little longer. As you
You got to
see,
go, man. Yeah, of
yeah, the
course,
kids
man.
showed up,
Hey, I'm happy that I
and
got to catch you because I missed you the last few
yeah,
times. You know.
yep. Thank no, and thank you for noticing that I'm up and you came in, brother Zeke. Listen, I really want to thank you for listening to the professor and coming on in. Thank you for that. Shout out to the professor and shout out to our mutual friend Brandon. It's Aiden. Aiden came in as well.
Oh,
Okay,
Aiden.
Aiden is from
Awesome.
Greece, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Aiden's from Greece. Thank you, Aiden, for showing up. I can't really see how many people actually tuned into the live, but
I, I can't see any. Once I go live with you, I can't see any comments whatsoever, unless you pull them up on the.
I'm trying to check and see right now how many people popped up. Definitely, definitely.
I saw
Super
DeAndre did, and his area got hit with
Double
tornadoes.
D. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
he got hit with tornadoes, part of that storm system. So I hope he's
Double D
safe.
came up. Thank you, Double D. Double D is always there. Double D, man. Double D is a super good individual, man. For real. What I can't see is Double D is always
Whoa.
there. Whoa. Oh, okay. So I didn't see this comment, but I'm looking at it right now. Little Weapon by Lupe Fiasco. Did I pronounce that right? Lupe? Is that the intended way to pronounce it? Let me look it up real quick. Lupe Fiasco. Okay. Let me see. Let me put that up. I wanna make sure everybody's exposed to something like that. Lupe Fiasco videos. Let's go over here. Let's go. So Dot X. I used to listen to Dot X. He's that group right there. But um Lupe Fiasco. All right, here we go. Lupe Fiasco. And you said that the title of the song was Little Weapon. See if I can put that up so everybody can see it. Let's
What is
go
this song in
there.
reference to? I
Little
couldn't see the
Weapon.
comment. What was the song in reference to?
I'm gonna pause it right here just in case. All right, let me get past the. Let me just get past the advertising. Some serious symbolism on this thing. I see some Arabic. I see some. I'm not sure what the symbolism actually means. It go forward a little bit. I don't know if. All right, so here's what it looks like. Let me pause it so there's no sound. I want to be cool with I don't want any copyright stuff going on. but I do want to show you guys what the video cover looks like. This is the video right here. So you got some symbolism. Okay, so I thought it was Arabic, but it's actually Lupe Fiasco written in lettering that makes it look like it's Arabic.
Hieroglyphic.
That's
Yeah.
that's creative. That's creative. That's it right there, folks. If you come across, I'm gonna listen to it later to see what that's all about. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Zeke. Oh, so Zeke responded to your question, Brandon. He says it's about foreign child soldiers with relation to gun violence in U.S. from three different perspectives. Oh, that's gonna be interesting.
Yes. I'm
That's
gonna
gonna
look
be
that
very
up.
interesting. Child soldiers. Okay, so here we go. Right. So the extreme organizations, where what at what age do they generally recruit? Between the ages of 12 and 25, right?
But look
A
at the
lot of
gangs in America. Look, get the gangs in
between 12
America.
and
The same
25,
thing. Yeah.
between 12 and
Get them
25.
young.
Those are the most impressionable years.
Mhm.
Yeah, this was glorification of gun violence in the US. There you go. There you go. Yep, the glorification. It's still strange
It's
how
like,
other nations throughout the world and their societies and how they have close to no guns at all and they live a safer quality of life. So
yeah,
something to consider. Something to consider. I'm not against our Second Amendment, but
yeah.
it is something to consider. But I'm gonna let you guys go because
Take
I'm gonna
care.
go
Take
engage with
care.
the childrens who I haven't engaged with for the past 3 weeks. Uh, so I'm
Enjoy
gonna
your
get a hold of
time,
that
brother.
stove too and let you guys know. Thank you once again. Thank you, Double D. Thank you, Zeke, man. Super. Thank you to you, man. Bebe. Um, thank you, Aiden, Brandon. Thank you guys. And I'll see you guys again in my next video, in my next live. So
All right.
stay
You take
fresh,
care.
keep it profitable, guys.